Shall we, to begin with, address the issue of language? Spanish? Well, talking about the EU region, there's always the issue of language. Are we going to talk our own tongue? Yeah? We speak Dutch and French and Flemish and German, and we hope that we understand each other, or are we going to look for a third language, and which is then that third language? We could try it in Limburg. And there's lots of variations in that, which makes us also not understandable. So we prefer to switch somewhere back and forth between English and German this evening. And we hope to accommodate as much people as possible with that sort of combination of languages. So feel free to either switch to English or German if you like. And if you have any problems with those two, start to speak in your own tongue, and we'll try and translate it in one way or another. Which leads us directly to the issue of the EU region, and to the issue of identity, because that's, in a sense, the basic issue we're dealing with in these three meetings. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about this EU region. Already for many years, administrative units are dealing with the EU region. So in an administrative sense, it's already a reality in a certain sense. But yeah, how can we, as people of flesh and blood, experience the EU region? Yes, it's becoming more and more important, they say, because of globalization processes, because of the fact that the nation state is becoming more fluid, and because of the fact that economies and spatial structures are reorienting themselves, cross-border realities are coming into being. But then what is that cross-border reality? How can we experience that? The issue of identity, can we see it somewhere? Can we feel it somewhere? So these three meetings have to do with an excursion into the possible reality of the EU region. And we don't have fixed answers. There's, if you can see the presentation on the website, lots of questions. It's an exploration. And we've tried to organize these meetings also as not just statements. We have somebody presenting something, and then, oh, this is a statement, and we have to respond to a statement. No, it's organized as an expedition. And that's why we have something of a multi-dimensional experience organized for you here on the platform. We have two panels, actually. I call that the oral panel. There they are sitting already, ready to respond and reflect on what's presented here. And we have a visual panel, which is over there. And the good thing about a visual panel is they can intervene whenever they want. Yeah? Because in an oral panel, you have to wait for the chairperson to give you the floor. They don't need it. They can draw whatever they want. And we have an image manager down there, an image manager, who can flip back and forward between the different images. Let me introduce the people to you. Pierre Buys, he's the image manager over here. He is from Creovate, which is a combination of creativity and innovate. And he told me in a presentation, in this sort of preparation for this, that he's acting in the field of the new work. Is that a German? Het nieuwe werken. We know that in Holland, das neue werken. Is that something in German too? Das neue arbeiten. Okay, right. Which is about digital worlds, which is about interaction, which is about social media and all that. Well, Pierre is involved in that. But tonight he's very much responsible for the technique and switching back and forth between the different images. And then we have our visual panel, Tim Wekemans, landscape architect, working in Antwerp. Architect, not landscape architect. That's a very interesting issue. Not a landscape architect, real physical architect. Working at his own bureau, REST, which is situated in Antwerp. At the same time teaching at the Polytechnic in Limburg, also in architecture. And guests, professor in the Academy of Architecture in Maastricht. Yeah. So he will be intervening from the perspective of architecture. But beside him is sitting Marie van Vollenhoven, and she presents herself on a website as an independent artist. Mind you, not just an artist, it's an independent artist. And she will intervene, well, perhaps from a very sort of surprising perspective. They both will be, in a certain sense, disturbing our discussion or enhancing our discussion, whatever you know. And on your website was an interesting proclamation of something which is happening in June, the beginning of June. If you want to see more of her work, one of the interesting, I will be coming, the 3rd of June, yeah, in a cafe in Maastricht, she will have a performance with Trio Poultry, was a jazz trio. Yes, Café Jackie and Lubina in Maastricht. Go there, the 3rd of June.
And also interesting, the 7th of July is a very interesting festival also for people living here. It's called Since Connected.
Okay.
Look it up on the website.
You can find her on the website. So they will be intervening visually. And they have to wait for the chairperson to give them the opportunity to intervene. There is Ad Knotter, from the director of the Social Historical Center in Maastricht. And this is also a very interesting person because he's done a lot of research on cross-border identities and cross-border connections. On his website, or somewhere on the web, you find an interesting article written by Ad stating that Limburg doesn't exist. Which is an interesting issue because lots of policies about Limburg identities. Others saying Limburg doesn't exist. Limburg is a construction. In fact, a construction which grew out of the nationalization process in the Netherlands. And due to the fact that these borders are becoming more and more fluid, identities are restructuring themselves again. And there is the danger of a cleavage there between northern Limburg and southern Limburg, with southern Limburg orienting itself much more towards the east and the west, which then leads to the issue of the identity of the region. But we'll come back to that in the discussion. And the next to him is Rick Takvorian, cultural program leader in the municipality of Aachen. So responsible for a lot of the cultural infrastructure and the programming of that infrastructure in Aachen. But also his love baby is Schietmacher, already from 1993 onwards, which was in Heerlen last week. Was it last week?
Last month.
Yes, exactly. A fascinating dance festival, dance performance festival. And you will be intervening from the perspective of cultural policies, cultural collaborations in the EU region, because you're also involved in the artistic, you're a member of the artistic team of VIA 2018, European Capital of Culture bid for Maastricht. So your role will be looking at it from a cultural interaction perspective. Okay. Right. But you have to wait until the discussion break. We have 3 speakers, and they have a very brief period to give us their presentation. And after each speaker, there will be a possibility for a discussion. I will invite the oral panel to reflect first, and then the floor is open to you. We have short discussion breaks of 15 minutes. We have a longer period of discussion later on in the program, but we'll come back to that later on. So that's the program. You feel comfortable with that up to now? We'll have to finish at 10 o'clock. Yeah? In fact, in Heerlen we finished much later, didn't we? We finished half an hour later in Heerlen because the discussion was so interesting. So it gave so much energy that we sort of stopped half an hour later. But we tried not to do that this evening, so don't be afraid.